People were saying how great Snowball's been lately.
Okay. All right, give me 1 second to do this. You can go ahead if you want and just start with the minutes.
Has everybody had a chance to read them? Well, then I'm going to move that we approve the minutes of May 4th, 2021 as written.
Second it.
I'm sorry, who made that motion?
I did.
And I'm assuming it was unanimous.
Well, silent.
Yeah, silence is last consent, as I always say. And Bruce will not be here tonight. He had emailed me to let me know. And of course, you all remember Jimmy Charles, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's nice to see you.
Okay, so, Community Open Space Parks and Playgrounds Grant. And for those of you who aren't as familiar, Mike and Sarah and Patricia have dealt with this for a long time, so they're a little more. It's through Department of Natural Resources Program Open Space. It's one of the most unique programs I've ever dealt with in that we will apply in August. We will not receive notification until this time next year, which makes it very difficult. For instance, the application that we have outstanding at the moment, which by all appearances we are going to receive, but we have not received that final piece of paper saying so yet. We submitted it with a budget based on July of 2020. Well, as we all know, construction costs have, so we don't quite know what's going to happen with that, which is one of the problems with a grant program that takes such a long time to actually come to fruition. And what they're dependent on is the state budget process. So, having said all that, the county in past years, they have not done it in several years, has sent us this form. And we fill it out, and we've always referred to it kind of shorthand as our wish list. We prioritize what programs we want, or what rather projects we want to see done, and we submit it back to the county. And it is part of the overall program open space process. But as I say, the county has not actually requested this of us in the last few years, but it's still a very good tool for us to use to look at our projects and say this is what we want to do, or these are the things that we have prioritized. And over the years we've put projects on and taken projects off, or completed projects and then taken them off. What we submitted the last time, which was for FY20, so this sheet would have been developed in 2019. Our priority project was the lighting of the basketball courts at Henry Park. However, the mayor and council wanted the permanent restrooms at Stephen Decatur Park moved up on the list. So that's what we applied for. And that's what we're waiting to hear back on now. But the lighting for Henry Park basketball courts has been on here for a number of years. So all I've done here is taken the last one that we submitted, knocked off the prefabricated restrooms at Henry Park because it looks like we will get that funding. I am recommending we don't do anything with, it's on here at Stillsboro and Falls Park, Heron Park, because it's so up in the air with what the mayor and council is ultimately going to do with it. And then John Howard Burbidge Park, this was something we had on here. It's gone in a different direction since this was developed, but there it is.
Could these funds, if they came through, be change direction?
No, once you apply for a grant, it is not impossible, but it is not a good idea. The granting agencies look at your spending history and what you do with the funding that you're given, and it just does not play well to.
Okay, so it could affect your future.
Yes,
okay.
That's exactly correct. Shoot, I had
Sorry.
another, no, you're fine. I had another train of thought that got derailed somewhere along the way. Oh, you had asked me, I think, Mike, you had asked me, or someone had asked about applying for more than one project at a time. We've done that in the past and then received a call from the state saying, look, you have to prioritize. You have to tell us which is more important, because they never have the money to fund a really big thing like two different parks or anything like that. The closest we ever came to getting funding for multiple projects was, we did a number of things at Stephen Decatur Park, but we all put it sort of under an umbrella of Stephen Decatur Park improvements. Even though it was a little bit here and a little bit there, we were able to put it under that umbrella. But if we were to say, try to apply for something at Burbage Park and something at Stephen Decatur Park, they would not want to do that. So that's why we have to set these priorities. We have to decide, what matters. And when I say we, the Parks Commission makes a recommendation to mayor and council. They can then decide that their priorities lie in a different direction, and that's how that goes. So what I would suggest, because we have had the William Henry Park basketball court lighting on here for a number of years, is that we make that our application for this year, which is due August 26th. But we can redo this list for going forward. Think of it like a capital improvements plan or something along those lines.
So that's the basketball courts that are being painted?
Yes.
Well, that hasn't, but ultimately, yes. Ultimately, yes.
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 It's the same course. Yeah. It's not
And
funded.
the
They
lighting,
funded differently,
Yeah,
but,
Right,
wasting money.
right.
but that would be cool if they were lit up and
Yeah.
they were painted.
well, the lighting at the basketball courts would be just like it is at Stephen Decatur Park. It would only be available for certain hours. It would be a timed system where you turn it on and it stays on for an hour and then it turns off. But for instance, it won't even come on after, say, 10 o'clock or whatever. I'm not
I
sure.
think that's what the
Yeah,
tennis courts
yeah.
are.
So in that way, the basketball courts would be able to be used the same way that the tennis courts are in the evenings. And
No, they won't just be on all the time, because that's a
No,
waste of electricity.
no.
It's only when people want to use them. But it really does expand the ability to use those courts in the wintertime when it's dark,
right, at 5 o'clock.
At
yeah,
5 o'clock,
Exactly.
and, the kids are just sitting around there twiddling thumbs. I think it's the right people, the
Yeah.
people we want playing in the parks. So I think I really hope we are able to get the lighting for it. It'd make a huge difference in how people
Yeah.
use the parks.
Especially in the off-season, like when it's dark so early.
You're absolutely right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Because, now it's kind of hot to be playing baseball.
Exactly. However, someone might be interested once it starts to get dark in playing when the sun's not beating down. So yeah,
September, it's going to look
Right.
mighty appealing at
Right.
8 o'clock to go out and play a little bit b-ball.
Exactly. The way the rules are right now for the parks, dusk to dawn. However, Stephen Decatur, actually, it's in the town code, has an exception for the tennis courts. So we would just amend the town code to include the basketball courts for that timing exception.
And that use.
Right.
So that's number one. But
We need a motion to keep it number one? or-
Yeah, I would say if we want to do that, it's not only a motion to keep it as number one, it's also a motion for me to develop the grant application for this coming round. Now, Tim has updated the pricing, which has obviously gone up. So we're looking at a total of about $125,000 at this point.
Yeah. We should bring up about what the mayor sent us, just his ideas going into.
Yes, oh, definitely,
Yeah.
definitely, please.
Yeah.
Mike has had a conversation with
Yeah.
Mayor Tyndall
Yeah.
today.
Yeah.
Yeah, before we move on anything.
Yeah, the mayor called me, I was up in North Ocean City, and he had sent me an email with some links on it, and being where I was and just on my phone, I had trouble reading them at first, but I got home and one of them didn't download, but it was improved, the top lot, anyway, both playgrounds at Stephen Decatur, they are getting old and antiquated, and there's new toys out, or fixtures out there for disabilities and stuff. And one of that Adobe one, the first the attachment, had some really interesting stuff, and he is very interested in upgrading that equipment.
Now, are you talking about just the tot lots, or?
I got the impression that it was both playgrounds at the Decatur.
Well, I mean, there's multiple.
Oh, okay, yeah.
You see what I'm
Right,
saying?
Oh, yeah, I know what you mean, yeah. Yeah.
We have a couple of, we
Yeah,
have that
'cause
one
it's
that's the
more-
purple
we've
color
got-
that's for
we've- yeah, we've
disability
got two big,
accessible.
Yeah.
things per se, and that the one with all the walkways and all, that's fairly new.
Right.
But I'm
Right.
sure, you know, the way
It
things
needs some
change,
maintenance.
Yeah,
Correct.
it's held up good, but it's starting to buzz. I see a lot of patches, but it comes out good. It makes it more colorful, really.
Oh,
And,
yeah, no, it's,
Yeah, but it was very interesting that, I couldn't open the attachments, Mary, I couldn't get the first one, not the attachments, the two links he said. First one kept saying it was, I couldn't get on.
Oh, okay. I honestly
Second,
did not get a chance
The
to.
second one was,
so the tot lot is what he's interested in?
yeah, and probably that other bit with the true things that are within the fenced area. Yeah, that would- I guess that would be-
Okay,
in the
yeah, that's
play
the
area.
tot lot.
That's,
Yeah.
yes,
In
the
the-
white
yeah.
fence,
Right,
that's
in
the
the
Yes.
top
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, and then the other climbing thing, that huge thing, I mean, that's, like I say, that's fairly new, I don't know.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
less than 15 years.
Yeah.
Right.
And it was like
Right.
200,000 when
Yeah.
we got it, so
Right.
it's,
Yeah.
I don't think we want to,
Yeah.
we don't
No,
want
we're
to
not
replace that
gonna
until we
do
have
that.
to, yeah.
The thing in the tot lot, or the inclusion thing for the handicapped kids are really interesting.
That's
Oh.
actually not that old itself, I don't think.
No.
Well, some of them,
Technically.
part of the thing is they where we had the sand
That was the
things.
most used thing there.
Yeah.
It was, but it's beyond
also the
who's
most
diggers.
broken.
Yeah.
Consistently broken.
And
Yeah.
something needs to go in its place. I think, something that's going to,
Yeah.
so that would be,
Mhm.
and then the fences are hard to open. Those,
Oh,
a
yeah.
lot of those things need to be
Yeah.
re-engineered perhaps. Still, just, you have to do it. They're gonna, something's gonna happen to them when they're in there anyway.
Yeah.
I would love to see a new surface on that. I mean, a really nice, like a rubberized surface or something like that. I
Yeah.
don't know if that's.
Here's the problem with the rubberized surfaces. They get torn up, and they're very expensive to fix.
I have been looking, as a matter of
So
fact,
it's-
that kind
yeah.
of segues into what, I have gotten several people mention to me about the rubber pad.
Well, we can talk
We're gonna
about that later.
later. Okay.
Good, that's
Um,
my favorite subject.
Right?
Well, I've been doing a little bit of internet searching because
Well,
it's so fun. We'll talk about it later. No, I think that it is important to have the tot lot up to par. And-
One of the things with inclusive playgrounds that was true a number of years ago. I do not know if it is still the case. I've put in an email to DNR to find out. There is an inclusive playground, it's called a boundless playground. That's the word I've been trying to think of all day. A boundless playground in Salisbury that was funded, I believe, at least in part, by Program Open Space. The rule at the time was they would only fund so many of these playgrounds within a certain
area.
geographic region. It's just
Or
spreading the money
population area.
out.
Right.
And of course, Salisbury made sense being a
Yeah.
population center. So I don't know if that's still the case. I don't know if it's been there long enough that they wouldn't worry about that at this point. Right. So I have emailed our representative at DNR to see what her take is on that. So that could be a factor.
But so many of these toys now are not specifically for, restricting, I mean, they're open to everybody.
Oh,
yes.
So it's everybody enjoys them. And when you're talking about a tot lot, you're already talking about a limited ability. So I think that we can integrate pretty well without calling it a boundless
Yeah.
playground, without having to have that designation. I think we could just come up with good stuff.
Well,
If
a
we
lot of
need to
our
replace it.
equipment already does have some inclusivity. It has
Absolutely.
what they call transfer platforms and that sort of thing.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm not 100% sure if we would be trying to develop, you know,
I don't
what,
think we have to reinvent the wheel. I think we just need to replace the things that are broken in the tot lot, fix it up. Is that kind of what he's expressing?
Well, he's just sent all the information for us about it.
Oh, I haven't looked at all of those
Well,
things,
yeah, he
yeah.
sent it to Mary and I.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
late
So I
this
have no
afternoon.
idea what he's
It was
interested in.
it was late this afternoon,
Yeah.
so,
So we'll have
yeah.
an opportunity
Right.
to look at it.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm glad he's interested in what goes on. Lovely.
But then the question becomes, do we
How does
want
it
to,
fit with
do we
this?
want to add it to the list? Do we want to move the lighting project down and put, you know, these are the kinds of,
Oh, I think we have to go forward with the lighting.
I do
project
too.
first.
It's been on the
We had
list
the
for
tot lot
so
on
long.
before. We
Yeah.
already got funding for that previously, didn't we? Somehow, somebody came up
Yes.
with funding for it.
We put up a new fence.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did a
Yeah.
lot of new things for it. So
Yeah.
I think that that's a nice thing to be able to do if somebody gives us a pile of money.
We had talked for a long time about expanding the footprint of the tot
Right.
lot, but, you know, that's, there are other things that would be better spent at this point. Before we start adding and taking things away, Tony Weig also reached out to Laura Stern and asked about getting, I know he mentioned the ping pong park, the skate
And
park.
the skate,
Yeah.
yeah.
The skate park and the ping pong park on this list, which I think is a wise thing to do. But that's, you know,
It's good to have it on the list.
yeah.
I think that, you know, a skate park is very ambitious and, you
Yeah.
know, it entails a lot of things that, it's a big manpower and
Mhm.
project.
Mhm.
So, I mean, it's a big ask for this small town.
Mhm.
But I'm sure it can be done if somebody brings $100,000 to the table and says, let's get it started, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
But it takes a lot of money. That's all you know. But yes, I think it should be on the list, because these are things that the town wants, both
Right,
of them.
right.
You know.
Now, and again, ultimately, the list would then, in fact, on Monday, it will go to the mayor and council. And, you know, they may have a different swipe at it.
Yes, they will.
We're just recommending.
Right, right. So, that said, twofold. What do we want on the list? Don't worry about dollar amounts, that's something that we do on the other end. What do we want on the list? What is the order of the things that we want on the list? And do we want to plan to apply for the William Henry Park basketball court lighting in this funding round? So why don't we tackle the list first? I'm assuming by what you're saying, you want to leave the basketball court lighting
Yes.
as the number one. As I said, my recommendation would be to take Heron Park off, or at least move it further down, maybe leave it on the list, but move it further down, only because we just don't know what the mayor and council ultimately may end up doing.
Facts.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. Now, Burbage Park was on here just as a kind of a, let's do something with it, so we can certainly replace that, let's do something with it with ping pong.
Ping pong
yeah.
park, yeah.
Okay, so why don't we say then we'll move Burbage Park up, or, well, no. See, the skate park, Heron Park would be just an ideal location, but again, we're sort of at that, what will end up happening with it. People have suggested Stephen Decatur Park. I don't feel Stephen Decatur Park is an appropriate location. The area that we would have to replace, the open grass and
Yeah.
whatever area that we'd have to replace, it's just not what the intent for that park has ever
Definitely
been.
the left side of the wild
Right.
side, definitely.
Right. And we have this disc golf project that's coming before the mayor and council, I believe, on Monday. I haven't heard back from them. So if that was the case, that course, yeah, we don't know how it would interact. So I don't know what to say about
I
adding a
think
skate
that
park to this.
We should put the skate park.
We could put it on here.
At Heron Park, and then let them make the decision about this is where we envision, if there's gonna be a skate park, we envision it being at Heron Park.
Well, or what I was gonna suggest was, we could also put it on here without a location and make part of the funding to go to hiring a professional service or
Yeah, or
whatever
an assessment.
to help us assess
Yeah.
good locations.
That's
That
even
makes
better.
more sense.
Okay.
That's what we've
okay.
always done too. When we've had big projects,
Yes.
we tried to like thoughtfully consider what our options are. We often have to ask for help.
Oh, yes,
Well, and
of course,
The
of course.
requirements of such a big project, really, you're talking about, people coming in and out, not disturbing other neighborhoods. I mean, there's a lot that goes into
Right.
choosing the correct site.
Right.
An industrial area kind of makes sense, but,
But without knowing.
without
Okay.
knowing what the
Which,
big question is.
What areas we have to play with, and
Right?
We don't have that, we don't have a
That's
lot
the
of
thing,
places
yeah.
left.
And
And maybe
We-
that's something that if we put it out
Experts
there.
can look and figure it
And the
out.
council
the
needs to-
experts, don't have to limit what they're looking at to
Right.
just within the town. They can look at, areas just outside of town as well, so,
Well, that's true.
Come up with something
I hadn't really
creative.
thought.
yeah.
well,
Yeah.
Laura, how's he doing? They were doing fundraising towards the skate park too.
Yeah, I know that they're fully committed to that,
Yeah.
but he is right now still waiting for the nonprofit to
Yeah,
come
both-
through.
both of them.
And they're just because I guess, probably because of COVID and everything, there's a backlog.
Mhm.
And that's affected their,
People have had a year to write their grants.
So,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
And there's a lot of paperwork sitting on those desks, that everybody is ready to try something new. It's a new beginning for a
Yeah.
lot of people, so.
That's true.
but he has a lot of people behind him. I feel
Oh,
like
yeah,
it's definitely like a movement.
Well,
yeah.
we've seen
It's
when they
always-
had the pop-up skate park down
Oh,
at
yeah.
at
That was
the
nice.
plant. You really saw a lot of people came out,
Yeah,
a
it was-
lot of
yeah.
dedicated people for the whole cause of the skate park. I have no question but that there's a lot
Yeah,
of support.
I do think that it would be, they'd be happy with us putting it on there,
Oh, of course they would
because,
be, yeah.
This is a step in the right direction.
I think it's important to do, how we write it, we have to think about, well, won't limit it. So if you think that just putting down skate park on there without limitation of where.
Oh, yeah, feasibility studies and that sort of, they're frequently applied for.
Yeah, you have
That's
to get
not
that money
unusual.
from somewhere, and it's not cheap.
I think it's
No.
a given.
No.
I think that's a good step. It helps
Yeah.
everybody that way.
Yeah. So then, as far as prioritizing, Burbage ping pong skate park study, I'll call it, for lack of a better term right now.
Oh, okay. We're still in the study stage. I didn't know where we were with the ping pong park. You said they're getting ready to appear before the council, the ping pong people?
No,
Oh,
no,
this is the painting people.
the disc golf people.
Disc golf. people.
Yes.
I'm sorry, too many
Yes.
at one time.
I have not heard anything more about
From
the
the
painting
ping pong.
project,
Oh,
so
the painting project,
I just don't
okay.
know what the status is on
Okay.
this.
So I have a question.
Uh-huh.
With the ping pong park, it was my understanding that it can't be at the Burbage Park?
No.
Because, is that true?
No, it can be.
Oh, it can be?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
We needed to check on
We had to-
utilities, underground
Right.
utilities,
Right.
but the way that it is, they sort of run right down the middle, so things can be done to either side.
Okay, that's
Without-
great. I
yeah.
missed that.
Yeah, that was the only thing, we just,
You got the first memo, but not the
Not the
second.
second.
yeah, we just needed to be sure on
No,
that.
that would be,
Parking
Yeah.
too, wasn't there something parking? Limited amount.
Well, I mean, obviously, once we start really getting into the nitty-gritty, all of that's gonna have to be looked
Well,
at, but,
one hopes that being in town, you're going to have more pedestrian traffic. And
Right.
there's not a lot of gear involved with it, so have a nice bicycle rack.
yeah.
And a place for strollers.
Yeah,
You know.
Exactly.
So, but I think that we'll try to encourage
Yeah.
pedestrian traffic more than,
Vehicles, yes.
a lot of vehicles. I'm
Exactly.
sure there'll be one or two.
Sure.
You know.
There's room where the recycle bins used to be. You
Uh-huh.
could get it had it in parking for.
I'm sure they can come up with a
Cars,
very good
yeah.
plan for how that can work the best. for
Yeah.
what we need.
Yeah, I think that that that'll
I
be
was gonna say,
okay.
with one project being so much less money, would it behoove us to put that on first since we wouldn't need as much? Or is it better to do it the other way around?
That really,
doesn't matter.
yeah,
You
because,
just don't
you
know
know,
which
as you
one.
see, this just so happens to more or less be financially in,
Well, it seems like
But it's
the
not-
ping pong could
yeah.
come to fruition faster.
I like that being number 2 because it's faster.
Yeah.
That's just my feelings, and
Okay.
it's better. The lights would be, my opinion, I would like to see the lights be number 1, the ping pong be number 2, and then the feasibility, and then skate park feasibility. All of that'd be number 3.
Okay.
And then we can have tot lot feasibility, because we'd have to have a plan made, if that's what we have to, you know, if we want to include that. I don't think that's the top priority, but I do, if it's important that we put it on.
well, I just,
I don't know how important it is to put it on, that's my.
well, and yes, and that's a good question, but I just am very reluctant to supplant old ideas that we've been wanting to do with something new.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just, yeah.
What about the rubberized trail? Could that go in there somewhere? Or no, that's
I
just like,
think that's a huge project. we
It's
need.
so-
That is a much bigger project, because as it turned out, of course, that trail was never supposed to be
Right.
put
It was
here.
passed, basically.
Yeah, so, now there may be, I was gonna say,
There's a new
there
company who does it.
may be new
Alright.
materials, well, yeah, there may be new material that works better, that sort of thing, but I would say that, one of the things they don't like to do is,
done already.
yeah.
Right.
They like new projects. That's really their big thing. That was one of the things with, shoot, I can't remember one of the applications that we put in. It might have been for the restrooms. It
Oh,
wasn't
yeah.
that they had a problem with the restrooms. It was just that it wasn't kind of pretty enough. It wasn't sexy enough.
Right.
So,
right.
but they did very much tell me they like
Waste disposal is the
new
best.
projects that are, you know,
It's just
fun.
that the
and-
trail seems like a little bit of a danger, you know, but also too, it's an eyesore.
Yeah.
To me, like, I don't want
But
to, I
that's-
wouldn't want to say
And one of the
anything
most
about.
used-
That's not with this funding,
And
though.
so-
That's
Yeah.
not with this funding.
Right.
It's not like,
But
so you need to.
you're right. We can strategize as to how to get that money. And
Yes.
there are other ways to get money than to just ask these people for it.
There's grants and things.
Well, you know, we have to,
Raise money.
it's one of these things.
Well,
If we
spearhead.
want it to happen, a lot of people use that part. But
Yeah,
that's a whole other
there-
thing. I don't want to get off the subject, but we're still on
No,
this
but,
list.
but I will throw this out as far as grants go. There is some truth to the statement, there's grant money out there for everything. There is some truth to that. However, I will say Berlin is a slightly too affluent community to access a lot of those funds. Now, that may have changed with the latest census, and I have a feeling that economic and
I'm not
population
even
numbers are going to be skewed for a number of years following the last year. But something that people tend to forget is a lot of grant funds, I don't know that I feel comfortable saying most, a lot of grant funds are geared toward low to moderate income communities, neighborhoods, and Berlin is not that.
Yeah.
However, that walking path serves an indispensable part of rehabilitation for our elders.
Oh, I'm-
I mean, there are so many other things that we may,
Maybe it would be that aspect that could,
but this is something we can discuss at length.
you know,
I mean, we really could talk about it for all
I do
day.
see people over there that are obviously convalescing, which
It
is.
is
for sure.
This is all, there are so many strategies that can be used. I think that Ocean City is having a really good year, and I think that there might be some generous folks who might want to help us if we put the word out there. Look, people walk on that. Everybody has a relative in this county who walks on that path. I mean, that's just, it's very important. So I think that the generosity of our fellow citizens is what we're going to be looking to at this
I see.
first. That's the first place.
And I'm sorry to keep bringing this
No.
up, but I'm like new and I don't understand.
I
Like,
understand
a
when you
wonderful
start
new
talking about
company.
this community parks and playgrounds, and I've explained it so many times over the years.
Yeah.
And I have to explain it. Oh, it's confusing.
It is.
It's complicated and complex.
But I trust that, I can see that you know what you're talking about as far as this and how to go about the best way to do it. I just didn't know.
There's
Yeah,
so many
yeah, well-
rules, so many rules that Mary is so knowledgeable.
Well,
about.
and at the end of the day, particularly when it comes to state funding, foundations can be a little more loosey-goosey with their own rules. They can be they can be more
Their own.
whatever with their own rules. But when it comes to state money, they have, this pot, but they have this many requests. So they need to get that money to where they feel like it's gonna put on the best show,
Right.
frankly. If you can't make as strong an argument as someone else, or your project just isn't as strong and attractive as someone else's, you're just not going to get funds.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
There's so much need and so little money.
That's exactly
Yeah.
correct, exactly correct. Because it's not only are we competing for those grant funds, DNR is competing for state funds. It's all, so they have to choose the best projects in order to get their position more favorable. It's money.
But one thing at a time.
Yep,
One-
yes,
Right,
one thing at a time.
Right,
I get it.
So-
Here's this compartment.
Right.
This money comes from here.
So what I'm going to do then is redo this development form, the basketball court lighting first, Burbage Park, ping pong park, Burbage ping pong park. I'll figure out a better way to say it. Skate park feasibility study, or feasibility might not be the best word there. Again, I'll come up with a better
Assessment.
word. Assessment, something, yes.
Yeah, just to see possibilities where county.
And in fact, I actually kind of like the idea of not assigning a place for a skate park. I think that leaves it a lot more open, gives you a lot more options. But we will leave, that's really it, actually.
Yeah,
There's really, yeah.
right. At this point, I think that's what we should do.
Should we put an inclusive park on here? As part, now you've got to remember, if you're going down to item number, 4, it's
Oh, I see.
a ways off.
Yeah.
Tony is saying that he feels like the Henry Park's also an option for the skate park.
Right, well, and that's what a study would help us to figure out.
Oh,
Yes,
got it.
yes.
Yes.
One of the big differences with Henry Park in particular is it is smack dab in the middle of residential. So anytime we do anything out there, we really want to talk to the neighborhood, which is what we've done with the basketball court and that kind of thing.
We've gotten committees together from the
Yes.
neighborhood
Yes,
in the past, which has really been helpful to us.
Yeah.
Yeah, to find out.
but that would be part of what a study, they would do some of that legwork for you, and, so that would, yeah. And I'm just going to put an inclusive playground on here.
Because that's what we would go for. If we did put any new things, we would make it inclusive.
Oh, of
materials,
course, of course.
So you might as well call it what it is. That's what
Yeah.
we're looking for, to be more inclusive and, expand our.
Yeah, and now that, once, of course, I came up with figured the word out, boundless, it did occur to me that a boundless playground is a very specific, sort of a branded thing. And so that might have been what it was.
Right.
Salisbury was able to get money for a boundless playground, but to
Which
get
has a
money for...
specific thing, yeah.
Well, I would say, though, that what we would need to do is do an assessment of Stephen Decatur and Henry Park playgrounds and decide what...
What's
I don't
the
want to just
status?
plunk another piece of playground equipment down.
I agree. We need a
So,
reevaluation
yeah.
of our equipment. If we're going to start to retool these things, do we, I assume that we have an inspection of all of the
Mhm.
things every year, so we
Yeah.
know the status of how, whether this needs to be replaced or that needs
Right.
to be replaced. I'll tell you one thing that, just the covering that we have over at Henry Park, every
Excuse me.
year I look at that and I'm amazed it lasts. the fabric covering.
The shade, well, we did replace it about
Yeah.
5 years ago.
Has it
I
only been
guess.
5 years? Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, then I feel better. But I do, that because of fabric, you know.
Yes,
It's
yeah.
something we always have to be aware of. But yeah, I think as we're looking to replace things, it would be nice to have, you know, $50,000 to, you know, to look at that as it's going to be done for this specific purpose.
Right.
You know,
It'd be
so
nice to
knowing
have a
that we have that on our list is
schedule.
important.
Like,
Right.
how many, like, is it every 20 years we need to look at the big equipment, or 15 or 10?
Some of those
And
things
we
are
need-
lasting forever, and they
Yeah.
will last forever.
The piece, the
But I
big
think you know
piece
it.
in Stephen Decatur Park replaced a piece that was probably
It was ancient, from the beginning of the park.
40 years
It
old at the
was.
time it was replaced. So, yeah, 20 years. Program Open Space likes to give a lifespan of 20 years.
20.
If you're talking about replacing a piece, I mean, unless you had some sort of catastrophic failure, obviously. But if you're talking about replacing a piece, they like to know it's been there for at least about 20 years. And when they fund it, they want it to last about 20 years.
I think it'd be helpful as a group, though, if we knew when things were there, just kind of a.
I do have all of that. Yeah.
That swing is really, that's probably the oldest piece there, isn't it? The swing.
yeah.
And you know what would improve that is if we just got like new swings with like a little bit of a longer chain or something, and that one piece, that one red swing is broken, I think.
Which one?
The adapted for,
It's like for handicap.
Oh, the platform, the accessible, yeah.
Yeah,
there.
and that's,
you're right, all of this needs to be looked at. Those are, we have a big repair for Stephen Decatur Park. You know, having all of that information is something we really do need to address. And, you know, I can look around and say, oh, the vines need to come out of this thing
Oh, yeah,
is chipped. We
definitely.
need more
There's a
paper
lot that
on that,
needs-
but I don't.
We do have the inspections done, and what we're able to fix, a lot of times it's, you know, bolts have worked loose and that sort of thing, and Public Works goes out and takes care of that. But when it comes to the bigger items that perhaps need true replacing,
but like the swings,
Budget.
to me, like that's,
Budget.
the cool thing about that swing set is it's so high.
uh-huh,
Like nowadays, it seems like swings are never that high.
Yeah.
But the swings themselves doesn't seem like it would be that expensive of a repair. You know what I
Well,
mean?
And the
Maybe-
seats, the actual.
Yeah. Well, the seats and the
The chains, how long the chains are. for
Yeah, like they
how high
seem
the-
too short or something for the.
it may just be because the surfacing
pick out the
underneath
surface?
needs
Oh,
to be
yeah,
maybe it
replaced,
is.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's what, you put the surface up and the kids kick it out right
Yeah.
away. So you
Oh.
have to scrape the surface, the mulch underneath it again.
Gotcha.
You know how that goes.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure it's a never-ending
All right,
project.
so,
So if you're over there with your rake, just shovel it back
Shovel
on.
it back in, yeah.
No,
There's
it's
more
all
to that
better.
swing. There's
Yeah.
more, I think, that could be repaired on that swing than just
Well,
that. but-
maybe, you know, if there are swing seats that
Yeah,
should be
something.
changed, bring in a set of them and let's take a
Well,
look and see how
this-
much it costs.
something that we
Talk
did,
about this.
gosh, a number of years ago.
Field trip.
Right,
Yes,
field
right.
trip.
We
Yeah.
would, instead of meeting here, we would meet at the park.
I
And,
think we
yeah.
should do that.
I mean, we'll be at Henry Park on the 6th. Of course, it's a madhouse that night. That may not be the
Yeah.
best time to try that.
Let's do it
But
while
it,
it's still
sometimes, you know, you're there, but you're not really looking at
And you know,
things.
everything looks so different when you
Yes.
have a tent in front of it.
Yes, yes.
When you have a what?
A tent. Oh.
So we'll look at maybe September.
I think
yeah.
September would be a good
Yeah.
time.
Now, we have an every other month schedule, but it doesn't mean we can't meet
Right.
Well,
monthly,
you
so.
know, it's not a real meeting next time, it's more
Right,
fun.
oh, yes, exactly,
So-
exactly.
So.
Okay,
yeah.
so what I would like to do is to get a motion from somebody for the development list for the basketball court lighting, the Burbage ping pong, skate park study, and an inclusive playground. That would be the order of the items that we would put on the list. And this would go before the mayor and council on Monday.
I'll make the motion.
Okay.
Second.
What was the order again, Mary? Basketball?
Basketball courts, ping pong, skate park, and inclusive. So if I could just get a
No, what's,
Yeah, no, I have the motion, I need,
oh, I'm sorry, go ahead. No,
All in favor?
yes, that's what I need.
Aye.
Okay. Okay, so that's the development program. Now, I won't have this for Monday night, but I'll start developing the actual grant application for August for the Henry Park lighting. So that will go before the mayor and council, probably the last meeting in July, first meeting in August. Unless they have a different vision after
Yeah,
Monday.
right.
We'll have to see what
Right.
their,
Yeah,
yes,
I mean, they're
we'll have to see what
yeah.
their thoughts
We'll
are.
deal with it.
As far as these other items, what's the chances of, within the budget, council saying we've got some, I know things are tight.
Not the current budget.
No, that's what I figured.
Yeah. However, if we're able to go out there and really look at things and say, this needs to be replaced, and we can come up with a solid list for next year's budget,
Uh-huh.
that would be the way to go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But there is not a lot of wiggle room
Yeah.
for this year.
Does the county have anything on the burner, like they were supplying the people for the tennis lessons and things like that? Is there any assistance coming from them now?
They're they're running the basketball program until the 24th, I want to say, but the tennis was just a couple of nights.
You're
And I'm
right.
sure they'll,
Yeah, that-
they'll
yeah.
keep popping up with stuff. So, I'm sorry, I think I kind of got out of order here. Let's do a motion for the grant application for this year for the basketball court lighting.
So moved.
Okay, so let me, oh yeah, I have gotten myself off kilter. So can I get a second on that?
Second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so we will apply for the, again, unless the mayor and council has a different,
Right.
then the order of the development program is set. National Night Out is coming up. I'm assuming we want to do National Night Out.
First time in a
So
year and a half.
that's the craft that I got.
Oh, how cute.
I still had a bunch of like frames and things, but they were very Eastery. So I just decided, we'll wait and see if we do the spring celebration.
Everybody
So there's,
has
I don't
sparkly
know,
eyes.
4 or 5 of these different blue and green and different colors. So that'll be a
Is
quick.
that a Oriental
are.
trading
It's really
product or
fun.
somewhere else?
Yeah, Oriental trading. Yeah, and it can either hang or it can sit in a flower pot or whatever. It's just a little cute little thing.
Job.
So that is Tuesday, August 3rd at, I don't have the definite times yet, but I'm sure it's about what it always is.
Yeah.
Like, we start setting up at 4:30 or
Yes.
something, and yeah.
August 3rd, you said?
And it's going to be nice and cool this year, right?
Sure.
Well, in the past, we've gotten there about 3 o'clock to set up and stuff, but that was
Yeah.
earlier. Was that too early? Is it
I
like?
think that was too early, because it doesn't start until 6, and it doesn't
Oh,
usually
it really
take.
doesn't start
I don't
until
think
6.
so.
I thought it started at 5.
Well, I'll get more
Okay.
information, and I'll obviously reach out and let you all know about that.
Well, I'm going to put
They're
4
all-
o'clock.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
they're all supposed to be like synced, because they happen in every
Yes,
community.
yes.
So the chief will have information on.
Yeah.
More exact.
Claude Holliday, though he is not with the police
Yeah,
department
he was the
anymore,
big-
is still doing
Oh,
the
wonderful.
event.
Oh,
So,
wonderful.
Yes,
Oh, good.
yes.
Very good. Well, that's going to be very nice.
Real quick, Jack Orris, Councilman Jack Orris just sent me an email. He was at the MML, he's actually watching us.
Oh, lovely.
So hello, Jack.
Hi, Jack.
But he was at the MML League, the Maryland Municipal League, and he picked up some brochures of playground units from in that area. There was distributors at this that you could go, and this is what they do specifically, is come in and help you set up your playground area. So he says it's down here in Kelsey's office, so that's something we could take a look at between now and our next meeting. But it would be
Yeah,
for,
I get all those catalogs.
but it would be for the next fiscal.
Right.
Right, it's still good for us to look and see what kind of things we're, interested in. And I imagine that some money, they would give us an estimate of how much they would all be, which a reality check is always good for people like us.
Always far more expensive than people think it
Yeah,
is.
yeah.
So hard.
Yeah, it was still one of my absolute favorites was a comment regarding a trash truck, and the person had gotten the number wrong. They said they paid $75,000 for a trash truck. No, it's more like $250,000. But that's what trash trucks cost.
Yeah.
You know, a
Okay.
big piece of playground equipment is easily $250,000, $300,000, easily.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's absolutely amazing. Well, you know, everything has to be safe. It has to have been tested. It has to be installed properly. I think the installation is really a huge
It
part
is,
of
it is, because there's site prep and, yeah, all that. Anyway,
Who's the actual certified in Public Works now to do, is there someone?
no, we have
Over
a
outside?
company, it's called
Okay.
Playground Guardian or
Okay.
something.
And they do
And,
it.
yeah, I mean, for
Yeah.
less than $1,000 a year.
Right,
Oh, that's wonderful.
yeah.
What a wonderful
Yeah.
service to have.
And I think we do 3-year contracts. In fact, this year we need to start a new one. So, yeah, and that's
So-
what they do.
so
They
do
go,
it
and yeah, this is what they
Once a year
do.
they come and do this?
Mhm.
When was the last time they inspected?
I think it
Last
was
year.
Actually, it was this April.
Oh, that's right, it was this spring.
Somewhere around
Yeah, yeah,
April, April, May.
That would
I
be,
believe it was April.
yeah.
Is there, I mean, is there any, should we be looking at the inspection?
Well, I emailed it to everyone when we got it.
I guess I didn't really pay attention to it as closely as I should have, and that's, so I will look back in April it was?
I think in April.
I'll resend it. I'll
No,
resend
well,
it. But, you
And
know,
that would
most of
be-
the stuff
thank
that
you
was
so
on
much,
there
Mary. I
has
would
been
appreciate it.
taken
So
care
we
of.
can- I'm sure, I do remember some of the, just a few
Yeah.
of the things, there were so few minor things.
It is.
It really
Most of
was.
it is,
It's just physical, like
Yeah.
this was, that or that was.
you know, and there were actually a couple of things that perhaps standards have changed. I'm trying to think, I seem to recall one in particular, like a play curb was too close to the, well, they were professionally
Yes.
installed at the time.
Yes.
They
At the
were
time,
installed
it
at
was
the,
just
into the
good,
standards that, you know, and moving those play curbs out a few inches, I mean, we're talking a few inches
Yeah.
is quite an undertaking, you know, so, yeah, anyway.
So those are
Moving
things
targets.
that you can.
Right,
yeah.
right.
Okay, well, I'm sorry, I
No,
guess
that's okay.
I mistook your brief description for the few problems that we have as a whole big deal.
Yeah.
I did want to mention that the company that's doing the rubber walkways now, and that this is really the only one that seemed to be, it's called Rubber Way, and they have an office in DC. As a matter of fact, they have, when I was looking through their website, they were talking about for do-it-yourselfers, for people who want to learn how to do this. It's almost like they're begging for someone to learn how to do this process because they have more demand than they have. But it seems to be that they, with their advisors and everything, that they help with all of the things, and, you know, that they're involved with it instead of just saying we can't do it. It sounds like something that they're interested in. Rehabbing an old one, I have no idea. Of course, it's prohibitively expensive, I'm sure, and all it takes is a lot of money, but
That's it.
but having roots come up through the walkway and have there being splits, I don't think is a good idea for the town to have either. So this is something that the council needs to consider as important. I consider it important because it's a safety issue. And that's all I'm going to say about it.
I agree. Plus, it just looks bad.
Well, you know,
It just looks bad. The way it I mean,
And it's one of the most widely used
yeah.
items in the
It's
park.
it's
Yeah.
it's
Like, it was,
it's an
I
amazing-
use it.
it was more than $400,000 to install 15 years ago. So, you know,
Way
now
more.
to rip it out and reinstall it, you're going to be $500,000 easily,
I'm sure. If not
easily.
more.
But it's a worthwhile project to sink our teeth into because it's wide use, the importance of it to our community, and the safety issue. I'm sorry, I broke my rule.
But I do think, I do think that your point about, the health of, so many people with a hospital right there.
All
I
of that
see
orthopedic
people-
surgery that's happening right there,
Yeah.
you'd think that, Jesus, do you know anybody on the hospital board?
I do.
So for Monday evening, and it's entirely up to you if you wish to attend the council meeting or not, but we will be talking about the development program. I will also be bringing the commemorative program back.
Oh,
Finally, that
right.
kind of got stuck on a back burner. So if you just, we've been over it and been over it. This is the final that we decided on, but I figured you would all like to kind of refresh your memories on that. So again, if you do want to be at the meeting, great, you're welcome to attend.
This looks very well.
I think,
done.
Mike, you're planning to come, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah,
This is very well put together.
thank you.
I'm sure it was a lot of work.
And then the only other thing that I really have is the youth club sent over their information, so hopefully you've all had a chance to kind of take a look at that. She was not able to be here tonight, but I'm sure we'll see them at National Night Out, so if there was anything in particular you wanted to talk to, they'll be there. Maybe they'll be able to get to the September meeting, but they've got a lot on their plate, obviously.
It's wonderful.
Yeah, it's just, I think everybody is just looking so much forward to being back to normal, getting there.
Well, we live in a community that has really stepped up to the plate and gotten their shots.
In a lot of ways,
so-
absolutely,
So
yes.
I'm really, I'm happy to be living here. This is beautiful, easy to understand, visually not cluttered, which is, sometimes when you look at a paper, it's just too hard to go through, but this is lovely. I love your list of trees, which are lovely, all good.
And this is something that we've only very occasionally even had someone come and want to do something, but unfortunately, we've just never really been able to accommodate them because we didn't have anything
We didn't
in
have any
place.
laid out.
And so this is something, who knows?
We're ready.
You may not pull it out again
I don't know, but it is.
for several years, but
Yeah.
there it is.
Well,
Thank you.
it will certainly help anybody who's looking to give to the parks in commemoration or to honor somebody. It certainly gives them a lot of good ideas and a good way to move forward with it. And do you need any more motions with this?
No, I just wanted you all to have a chance to look at it again and remember what it was and,
And it looks like you added flowers, that's awesome.
yes.
Yeah.
I
That,
didn't know that was going to be on there, that's nice.
well, people often, when we've had our cleanup days, and then sometimes we have had groups that just come out and
I've
have
seen that.
put the flowers in the,
And with the big push for native species, we definitely have to,
yeah,
Yeah.
yes. You
We
know,
need some magnanimous landscaping company to just come and, but speaking of landscaping, there's been some recent comments regarding the condition of the parks. The source of the comments is dubious at best. Public Works is very shorthanded. We are having the same problems everybody else is. We've had job openings out there and just not getting people
Condition
to
of the
apply.
parks.
Weeds in the flower beds and,
You're right, there are weeds in the flower beds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what,
We didn't
I
have
have
our
to say-
cleanup day.
Right, we haven't had it for 2 years
Yeah,
now.
2 years we have.
We have not had a cleanup day for 2 years.
And
But
it makes a difference. And I did not get over and pull the vines out earlier this spring, so I'm sorry.
Hopefully
I let
next
everybody down, my arthritis was just kicking up.
Well,
so
and if you'll
much.
recall,
I have
actually,
noticed that they've taken the vines and weeds out of the area that backs up to the Kenwood courthouses. You know,
Oh,
going
yeah,
back to.
yeah.
well,
looks
I mean,
like-
Jimmy
Thank you, Val.
can talk to all of that.
Yeah, I have noticed a difference since you've taken over, actually. It does look better.
Well, how
We're
do-
getting there as soon as.
Yeah.
It's an overwhelming,
Yeah.
it's an overwhelming
Right.
Just
proposition.
It is. We typically would have several seasonal workers in place by now. And so when it comes to keeping on top of the acres and acres and acres of grass that needs to be cut, versus getting down on your hands and knees and pulling weeds, the guys have to cut the grass. So, it's a matter of prioritizing, and like I say, we are having the same problem everybody else is. People are just not applying.
We
to
do
work.
have opportunities for volunteers if they would like to,
It would
there
be
are always
nice.
chances for volunteer
Sure.
groups to come out
Well, and
and do.
someone did do the main
Around
entrance to
the
the
anchor, Public Works
Did
guys
you
did
do
that,
that?
right?
Yeah.
Wow,
That
thank you.
we had a comment and we went out and, my guys actually went in there. It was 90 degrees, but they did it and they got it done.
Lord love them.
And,
Yep.
and we got it cleaned up and we're actually hoping to add a little mulch. I was hoping to add it this week, but with the weather is gonna come in Thursday afternoon, it's just
you might
I feel
probably.
like you should let us know and we'll all go help you shovel.
Yeah,
We've always.
it is, it's also, maybe we should post that volunteer weeders are needed, maybe that.
Well, here's the thing, the
They don't know what
comments,
they want to do.
the comments like that occur, who knows where, somewhere outside of the towns.
Then they stopped by and they saw that there was a weed or two, or
Yeah.
whatever.
No, but no, what I mean is they're out on Facebook or wherever, but they're not actually making
They're not
the comments to the town.
Oh,
When
I
we
see.
hear about it, it's rumor control.
Oh,
But Jimmy, as soon as he was aware of it, went out and
thank you
took care
so
of it.
much for being on that.
Well,
It's so hard.
It would be nice if someone did start a garden club, people
Well,
that
there is a
want to do
garden club in
something.
Worcester County.
Is there? Yeah.
Yeah.
There's not a Berlin one,
No.
but we do have, I think you still have a list for volunteers to do stuff. If there's a group of people who want to I will make this promise. I will meet with a group who wants to do a project in any of the parks. I will meet and I will help you go forward. It's not a problem. Just let the town
Brushmiller
know.
said that he wanted to.
Yeah, I saw
Well,
that.
Did you see that? He
let's
said
set
he
it
wanted
up. I did not see that he
And could
said
we
that.
do,
I'm
maybe
sorry.
this is
I mean,
crazy, but
the fact that we haven't had a cleanup day in 2 years is really,
It's showing.
so
It's
should
showing.
Yeah.
we look at a fall when it cools a little bit, clean up? Because beds to help.
I think that a fall cleanup is always a good idea because then it sets you up for success for the spring.
Right.
well, and along those lines, personally, I would rather see weeds in the flower beds than our guys out there in the blazing sun when it's 95
Absolutely.
degrees.
Right.
It's just not,
Oh, I don't think, this is not a job that I think in Public Works we don't have the manpower for. I mean,
Right.
remember how much the landscaping people charge to do your yard? I mean, if you're gonna have a bed mulched, if you're gonna have this.
Well, and
that's money that we don't have, you have to hire people for.
right. And
We have limited
it's also a park, not a golf course or a manicured lawn.
Right.
And that's part of it as well. I mean, yes, we do like to keep the weeds down in the flower beds, but it's never going to be pristine.
No.
And it's not our intent to, it never has been.
No.
I think sometimes people think we have parks, and yes, we have people to work in them parks, but we might have a list of 10
We do
other
not have a
items.
parks
But
department.
we don't have a parks
No.
department, and
Yeah.
we, some days, we can't specifically say, hey, these 5 guys are here, and when it's what we did the other week, we were able to have a couple utility sewer plant gentlemen come over, help us with the mulching, helping with, and it just, it was a total team effort by the town of Berlin, and add to these areas, so.
I will say, anytime I've seen something pending, something real urgent, I've made a phone call and they're right out there.
I am
Yeah.
so grateful that you do that. I wish that we had volunteers who could do this, or a whole, group of interns that could do it, but we just don't. And I agree, I don't think it's right for them to be pulling weeds in like, I don't pull weeds in
It's
90
not,
degree
it
weather.
just, that should not be the priority
No,
of
no,
that.
it's not the
cost-efficient.
priority. Yeah, it's not
No.
the
I just
best
think
use of
that
our
now it's been let go, and now it's overwhelming. But
Yeah.
I remember a time when my oldest, who is now like 25, when she was young, it was more maintained then, and I would see workers there then. I think they had more of a budget, and I think they had more people that
We've
worked
never-
there then.
We've never had gardeners in
No, I'm not talking about gardeners, but I would always see town of Berlin. Truthfully, a few years ago, which is what made me want to be on here. It didn't look good, and this was in the old administration kind of, and I've seen improvement since then. Now there's this movement, but I think it actually looks better. You know, I'm talking about like a Facebook movement saying how I think it's been improving the last several years from what I've seen.
I think that
Because
our
I-
needs have definitely, old equipment has gone out when
Yeah.
it needs to go out, the physical plant, my lord, look at the tennis courts, it's gorgeous. I mean,
It's
all of the
beautiful.
physical plant is really lovely in the park. We could have new bathrooms and and it's just
You know,
all better.
A couple of years ago, the mulch was mounded up in the parking lot through July. They never put it even down. They bought it and they paid for it. And I know because I took pictures of it and I took it to Laura Allen. And I said, look, it's, you know, it looked bad then. And now I feel like we've turned a corner, but because it's been let go a little, it's an overwhelming, and we don't have the budget. And so if anybody's watching this and they want to put together, you know, cleanup days and volunteer, it would be helpful for the town.
And we could even bring tools.
Yeah.
And even if we just need the manpower to actually come in and pull the weeds. If
Yeah, we
we
wanna
just set the
think about
weeds there, we
That's
could
how
actually
we've always
come in
done it.
with the tractors and clean it up.
Yeah.
And we could even bring tools in, and I know where I worked in other areas, we actually had some inmates come in and they would help us with a lot of that
Right.
stuff. And there was you know, so.
If we establish a day, ask for people to come up with their teams, you know, make it into some kind of, I'm sure there's some genius Facebook person who can come up with a way to inspire folks to get out there, and competition, prizes will be had, I don't know.
I can donate some prizes for you.
And we
Well,
have to
you know.
remind people that this is what we
This
did
is
do
what
on
we have-
Earth
we've-
Day.
right.
And
We've
because
always
of
done
all
it
the
on Earth Day.
restrictions the last 2 years.
I do think a fall cleanup is a good idea.
Well, I think October is a wonderful month
Doesn't
to do
address
it.
the immediate, but
No, and
it
there's
is also addressing the fact that it's been an unusual year and a half. And
Yes.
so things have changed, and the Tall's crab feed, or crab bake is going to be in the fall. So,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, and that has always
This is-
been in July, so
and-
maybe we need
yeah,
to
so-
do that. We just have to roll with punches.
Right, and people's
Yeah.
expectations need to remember, you know,
Yeah.
where we are with that. And it's always an effort to improve.
And
We're
our
not
goal
gonna-
has always been to have people come together for that day. There's a group of people that I would see once a year at Henry Park, and we were so proud because after 5 years, we all had the same bed. We had the weeds gone, and we were like, look, it's paying off.
Oh, it really, you know, it
And then we
does.
missed 2 years. So
Right,
Yeah.
and
let's
so-
get it back. Let's work on the positive.
Yeah.
So
That's right,
that's the
instead of
piece
being
that's-
negative, like you
That's the
said, do
piece
something
that's
positive
got
to help it.
be
Well, I'm
out
sure,
in the community,
Yeah.
and there'll be a lot of, the responses will be different if
Yeah.
we set the example of being
so
positive.
let's give give people an opportunity to help us out with the parks.
Yeah.
Maybe we should think about I don't know, an October day, or look at your calendars, think about it. Maybe we can discuss it when we meet in August.
Sure, we can discuss it then.
Yeah,
When
no-
is,
No later than October, we'd be getting.
when is yard waste?
The holidays.
Then we're getting into blow off.
That's not till December, is it?
Walk.
September, is it?
What's in September?
No, in December, yard waste, the special collections for yard waste.
Ah.
Because around here, you're still raking leaves and whatever
Right.
into December.
Oh, yeah, oh,
Um,
no, I am.
Because we always try to sort of coordinate the spring yard waste
With
and
the
bulk
collection.
cleanup around cleanup week, so, but that may not work for the fall.
But even, even to go out on a little different, I know you want to do a fall cleanup, but like, if someone's around that wants to give us 3 hours in the morning, 2 hours in the morning, even 2 hours like here and there throughout a week.
Yeah,
Where the
Pick up
committee
dead
just
wood.
cleaned
Maybe
out a
that's the
little
way to
bit,
do it.
where you can just maybe ask for some volunteers to say, hey, we need 2 people to come in this bed, in this bed, in this bed.
Can you
Just
make
a couple
us up a list of little things a little honey-do list?
Yeah, because like if you looked at Henry Park, there's a flower bed right
Mm-hmm.
as you enter. There's one in the back. There's a couple of little beds in there. There's one on the backside near the fence that really needs to be cleaned up and stuff.
Yeah, that's
And
The rain garden.
that
The rain garden.
Yeah, that all needs to,
And,
right.
You know.
And if
we
you
could
have
get-
any questions about how they should be done,
Right.
somebody has my phone number. I'm
Right.
available to, that has, my one talent is to
Right.
recognize native plants.
Yeah.
That is, I can do that, and I can say, don't pull that one.
Right.
Don't pull that weed, that one we want, that one we don't want.
Yep.
So I will happily,
Okay.
so yes. I think this would be a wonderful way if we can coordinate, and I know that people want to help out in the
Right.
parks, so this would be a chance for them to do that. And we can say, Berlin,
Yeah.
we got a honey-do list for you.
We could just say, look, if you're at Home Depot, pick up an extra flower.
Well, you want it to be coordinated
Yeah.
underneath your supervision. That's why I would ask if you could come up with that. That way we wouldn't be treading on your feet. If you have a big thing planned, we don't want to do it and then you come and, or go over what you've already done.
Right.
Yeah, it's wasted effort.
Okay.
So, yeah, I would love
Okay.
that if you could, get it at your leisure, because I'm not going to go out in 90 degrees. I'm not going out in a hurricane either.
No.
So 2 times thunderstorms, I don't go out.
No,
This is just general beach rules that we
And
follow.
that's just like, a prime example of this is Judy, who does the War Memorial area.
Yes.
I'll meet her tomorrow morning at 6:45. I'll get her some water. She'll water that area. She's in there. A lot of times she's there like 6:30 to 8:30 or so, and then she's gone.
And it
So-
looks beautiful.
She's dedicated.
Does a great job there.
Thank goodness she
Really-
does that. That is
That's
a
awesome.
real, that is a really nice thing for Berlin. And, everybody, we want the town to be beautiful. So,
Okay.
I think the whole town would love to help out.
Yep.
Well, it's nice if we focus on Decatur Park a little bit while they're still deciding on what's going on with the other one, because then that way.
Decatur and Henry. Henry's
Yeah,
got a
Henry
lot of
Park
people.
needs
and
to
new
And
plan.
Henry's going to have a lot of people in August, so.
Yeah, we'll have we'll get to see it in real action. So we'll be there and we
I
can
think
take
we
a look
spruce
at
it up before National Night Out.
will.
That's lofty, 90
Well,
degrees. I know.
we could have a few potted plants and take them with us.
That's only 3 weeks away.
Oh my gosh, it is.
If you really start thinking
It's
about it.
hard, that's, yeah, and,
I don't want it to be August already.
hey, we just got through July 4th.
Yeah.
We have a whole,
Yeah.
well, I think we covered everything.
Okay,
Yes.
is there anything else anybody else has?
Thank you.
Thank you. I
Thank
move
you.
that we end the meeting.
No, just one real.
Oh,
Okay.
As all you know, I sent you the email, congratulate Mary for her 30 years.
Oh, yes.
And thank you for the card.
Yeah, I was able to get a card over there to the ceremony.
30 years.
30 years, yesterday.
You're a dedicated woman.
Maybe
I wouldn't say committed, but
I should be.
well, congratulations. And,
Thank you all.
I would wish you another 30, but
Please no. Please no. Okay,
okay.
I think Patricia made a motion.
I'll second it.
All right.
I'm in favor.
Well, I thank you all,
Thank
and
you so
I will
much.
send you information about National Night Out and when and where and all that stuff.
Thank you so much, Mary.
Thank you,
All
Mary.
right, thank you.
Mary?
Good, got a lot